In 1971, the sixth man to walk on the moon called Muhammad Ali from a phone book randomly to say goodbye before ending his life. What happened next wasn't just a phone call. It was a 4-hour conversation, a 1,200-mile drive, 3 days sleeping on a stranger's couch, and a rescue mission that NASA would later document as civilian psychological intervention that saved a national hero. The astronaut's name was Edgar Mitchell, and the reason he wanted to die had nothing to do with Earth. It had everything to do with surviving the moon. Let's start with something most people don't know about astronauts. Coming back from the moon can destroy you. Edgar Mitchell was the sixth human being to walk on the lunar surface, February 9, 1971, Apollo 14 mission. He spent over 9 hours on the moon, conducted experiments, collected rocks, experienced something only 5 other people in human history had experienced. He should have come back the happiest man alive. Instead, he came back broken. The technical term is orbital perspective shift, or sometimes Earth perspective depression. But Mitchell called it something simpler. The moon broke my brain. Here's what happened to him. When you're on the moon looking back at Earth, you see the entire planet, all of humanity, all of history, every war, every love story, every birth and death as a tiny blue marble in infinite blackness. It's beautiful, it's profound, and for some astronauts, it's psychologically devastating. Mitchell described it in later interviews. I realized that everything I cared about, my career, my achievements, my fame as an astronaut, was happening on this tiny, fragile dot. And from the moon, I could cover that entire dot with my thumb. Everything that mattered to me could be hidden behind my thumb. That realization, that cosmic insignificance, shattered something in him. He came back to Earth in March 1971. NASA threw him a parade. He did press conferences. He was a hero. But inside, Mitchell was drowning. Nothing on Earth felt important anymore. His marriage was falling apart. His friendships felt hollow. His accomplishments felt meaningless. I walked on the moon, he told a friend. What am I supposed to do now? Sell cars? Give speeches? Nothing will ever matter as much as those 9 hours. Everything after the moon is just waiting to die.
By May 1971, just 2 months after returning, Edgar Mitchell was suicidal. He'd moved to Florida, isolated himself from friends and family. He'd stopped returning NASA's calls. He spent days staring at the ocean, trying to figure out how to end it without making it obvious. On May 17, 1971, Mitchell decided this would be his last day. He'd written notes to his ex-wife and his kids, he'd cleaned his apartment, he'd made peace with his decision. But there was one thing he wanted to do first, something that felt important in a way he couldn't explain. He wanted to talk to Muhammad Ali. Not for any logical reason. Mitchell wasn't a huge boxing fan. He'd never met Ali, but he'd been following Ali's story, the exile from boxing, the Supreme Court case, the stand against the war. And something about Ali's willingness to lose everything for his principles resonated with Mitchell's own sense that earthly achievements didn't matter. Mitchell looked up Ali's number in the phone book. This was 1971. Famous people's numbers were sometimes just listed. He found one that said Ali Muhammad, Jim, with a Miami address. He called it, expecting to get a secretary or a manager or a recording. Instead, Ali answered personally. "Yeah, this is Ali." Mitchell froze. He hadn't actually expected to reach Ali himself. "Mr. Ali, my name is Edgar Mitchell. You don't know me, but—" "Edgar Mitchell, the astronaut? Moon guy?" Ali's voice was instantly engaged. "Man, I saw you on TV. You walked on the actual moon." Mitchell started crying right there on the phone. Just hearing someone recognize that accomplishment, something that had felt so meaningless to him, broke something open. Mr. Ali, I don't know why I'm calling you. I needed to talk to someone before I... Ali's voice changed immediately. He went from excited to completely focused. Before you what? Edgar, what are you about to do? Mitchell couldn't say it out loud. He just cried. Ali didn't push. He just said, Okay, brother. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. You don't have to tell me anything. Just stay on the phone with me. Can you do that? Mitchell nodded, then realized Ali couldn't see him. Yes. Good. Now tell me something. Where are you right now? Cocoa Beach. You alone? Yes. Okay, I want you to do something for me. I want you to go sit down somewhere comfortable. Can you do that? Mitchell sat on his couch, still holding the phone, still crying. I'm sitting, he said. Good. Now we're just going to talk. About whatever you want. About the moon, about boxing, about nothing. But we're going to stay on this phone together. Is that okay? Why are you doing this? Mitchell asked. You don't even know me. Because you called me, Ali said simply. That means something. You didn't call a hotline or a doctor or NASA. You called me. So I'm here. And I'm not hanging up until you tell me you're okay.
They talked for 4 hours. Ali asked Mitchell about the moon, not the famous questions everyone asked, but deeper things. What did the silence sound like? What did Earth smell like when you came back? What was the first thing you wanted to do when you landed? Mitchell found himself talking about things he'd never told anyone. The terror of the landing, the overwhelming beauty of Earth rising over the lunar horizon. The moment he realized he was standing where no ocean had ever been, no wind had ever blown, no life had ever existed. Sounds lonely, Ali said. It was the loneliest I've ever been, Mitchell admitted. Even with another astronaut standing right next to me, I felt completely alone, like I'd gone somewhere humans weren't meant to go. And now you're back, Ali said, and everything here feels small. Yes, Mitchell said, surprised that Ali understood. How did you know? Because I've been there, Ali said. Not on the moon, but I've been to places where everything changed, where you can't go back to who you were before, where normal life feels like a prison because you've seen something bigger. Mitchell listened. When they stripped my title, Ali continued, when they banned me from boxing, I went through something like what you're talking about. I'd been the heavyweight champion of the world. I'd beaten Sonny Liston. I was at the top. And then it was gone. And I had to figure out who I was when I wasn't the champion anymore. That was dark, man. Real dark. But you survived it, Mitchell said. Yeah, I did. You want to know how? Please. I stopped trying to get back what I lost, Ali said. I stopped trying to be who I was before. I accepted that the old Muhammad Ali, the one who'd never been exiled, never lost his title, that guy was dead. And I had to figure out who the new Muhammad Ali was, the one who'd lost everything and was still standing. I don't know who I am anymore, Mitchell said quietly. You're Edgar Mitchell, the 6th man to walk on the moon. That doesn't change. But you're also Edgar Mitchell who came back from the moon and survived it. That's a different achievement, maybe a bigger one. They talked about depression, about purpose, about what happens when your biggest accomplishment is behind you and nothing ahead feels meaningful. At one point, Mitchell said, I don't see the point of going on. I've already done the most important thing I'll ever do. That's not true, Ali said. The most important thing you'll ever do is figuring out how to live with having done it. That's harder than walking on the moon, but it matters more. Why? Because other people need to see that you can survive the moon. There's going to be other astronauts, other people who go to space and come back broken. If you can survive this, if you can figure out how to live after the moon, you'll save their lives, not just your own. 4 hours into the conversation, Ali said something that would stay with Mitchell forever. Edgar, you went to the moon. That's incredible. But you know what's more incredible?
You came back. You didn't have to come back. You could have stayed up there, metaphorically or literally, but you came back to Earth, to all of us normal people living our small lives. That took courage. Coming down from the mountain takes more courage than climbing it. Mitchell was quiet for a long time. Then, I don't feel courageous. I feel like a coward for wanting to end it. You're not a coward, Ali said. You're hurt. There's a difference. And you're not going to end it. You know how I know? How? Because you called me instead of doing it. Part of you wants to live. That part called me. So now we're going to help that part win. By the end of the 4 hours, Mitchell had agreed not to do anything that night. He promised Ali he'd sleep, that he'd call back tomorrow.
But Ali wasn't satisfied with that. "Edgar, what's your address?" Mitchell gave it to him, confused. "Okay," Ali said. "I'm coming to see you." "What? No, you don't have to." "I know I don't have to, but I'm going to. You shouldn't be alone right now. I'll be there tomorrow." Ali was in Miami training. Cocoa Beach was 200 miles away. Ali got in his car the next morning and drove 4 hours to Edgar Mitchell's apartment. When Mitchell opened the door and saw Muhammad Ali standing there, the most famous athlete in the world, at his door, he started crying again. "Told you I was coming," Ali said, and walked in like they were old friends. Ali stayed for 3 days. He slept on Mitchell's couch. They talked for hours every day about space, about boxing, about God, about purpose, about depression. Ali didn't try to fix Mitchell. He just stayed present with him. On the second day, they went for a walk on the beach. Mitchell told Ali about the specific moment on the moon when everything changed, when he looked up and saw Earth and realized how small everything was. "You know what I think?" Ali said. "I think the moon showed you the truth. Everything is small. Every achievement, every award, every accomplishment, it's all small compared to the universe. But that doesn't mean it doesn't matter. It means we get to decide what matters. You walked on the moon because humans decided going to the moon mattered. It mattered because we said it did. And now you get to decide what matters next." "What if nothing feels like it matters?" Mitchell asked. "Then you pick something small and make it matter," Ali said. "You don't have to save the world or walk on the moon again. You just have to find one thing, one person, one project, one reason that's worth getting up for tomorrow. And then you do it again the next day. That's how you survive the moon, one small thing at a time." On the third day, Ali had to leave for a fight. But before he left, he made Mitchell promise 3 things. First, call a therapist. "I'm not a doctor," Ali said. "I'm just a boxer who cares, but you need someone who knows how to help with this stuff professionally." Second, call Ali once a week. "I want to know you're okay, and if you're not okay, I want to know that too." Third, find one thing to care about. "I don't care what it is. Could be a plant, could be a dog, could be research, could be helping other astronauts, just one thing that gives you a reason to wake up." Mitchell agreed to all 3. Ali left. Mitchell kept his promises. He started therapy. He called Ali every week for 6 months, brief calls, just checking in, but consistent. And he found his one thing: studying consciousness and how space travel affects the human mind. That research became Mitchell's life's work. He founded the Institute of Noetic Sciences in 1973, dedicated to studying consciousness, human potential, and the psychological effects of space exploration. He helped NASA develop psychological support protocols for astronauts. He wrote books about consciousness and the overview effect. Edgar Mitchell lived another 45 years after that phone call. He died in 2016 at 85, the same year Ali died. The story of Ali saving Mitchell wasn't widely known until 2020, when NASA released declassified psychological files on Apollo astronauts.
In Mitchell's file was a note from 1971. Subject received civilian psychological intervention by Muhammad Ali, boxer, May 1971. Emergency status lifted after 3-day in-person consultation. Recommend continued monitoring, but subject no longer suicidal. Ali granted emergency civilian psychological intervention status by NASA medical team. After Mitchell's death, his family found journals from that week in May 1971. One entry, dated May 20, 1971. Muhammad Ali saved my life, not with medicine or therapy or professional help, with presence. He drove 200 miles to sleep on my couch and remind me that coming back from the moon, coming back from any height, isn't failure. It's the harder journey. The moon broke my brain. Ali helped me put it back together, not by fixing me, but by sitting with me while I was broken and showing me that broken things can still be whole. In 2021, NASA installed a plaque at the Kennedy Space Center in honor of Edgar Mitchell. It includes a quote from him. "The moon taught me that everything is small. Muhammad Ali taught me that small things can still matter. Both lessons saved my life." If this story moves you, remember, sometimes the most important thing you can do for someone in crisis isn't to fix them or save them or give them answers. Sometimes the most important thing is to drive 200 miles, sleep on their couch, and remind them that coming back down from the heights, whether it's the moon or the championship or the peak of any achievement, is harder than getting there, and that surviving the descent is its own form of heroism. Edgar Mitchell walked on the moon, but Muhammad Ali taught him how to walk on Earth again. And that second walk, the one back to normal life, back to small meanings, back to choosing to live when living feels impossible, that's the walk that actually saved his life.